Hi, and welcome to our Monday live session on mouth ulcers and cold sores, the top homeopathic remedies that you can use for home prescribing. Yes, there's these remedies that you can use. You can buy them over the counter. You can buy them from a homeopathic pharmacy. But these are the remedies you can use for mouth ulcers and cold sores. And I'm sure some of us have had this before, especially mouth ulcers. Occasionally people get cold sores, but really uncomfortable, not nice to have. And instead of maybe using medications allopathically, you can use homeopathy to help. So I haven't seen you guys for a while. It's been about 2 weeks. So hey, Gunnel, Mark, Gunnel saying, hey, good to see you. Please let me know where you are. We got a few people on live today. And I missed you guys last week, but we decided not to do it last week because of the passing of the Queen. So we decided that, we would do it this week instead. So please let me know where you're listening from, as I always say, which part of the world. We have our regulars that come on every week, and it's always great to see you. And then maybe I'll do another live Zoom session as well, like we did about a month ago. Hey, Baron from Dubai, miss your lectures. Thank you. Well, listen, hopefully you're going to find this really useful. And I mean, honestly, I had this all the time with people, mouth ulcers. These little things that we think are little actually are huge for people, and especially, when you're struggling and suffering, and often it can be an indication that you run down. But the remedies are so good. They're so good. And this is how we encourage people to use homeopathy, because if they try it and it works, then it's fantastic. People then go, oh, what can homeopathy do for this or for that? Okay, so Laura, hey Laura, listening from Northern Ireland. Good to see you. Hey Pia hello Marcus, miss you, Pia from Sweden. Hello Pia. Pia, is this Pia who trained with us all those years ago? Let me know, Pia. Greetings from Greece, Penelope, lovely to see you. Clotilda, hey Clotilda. Great listening to you. Thank you, Clotilda. Lovely to see you too. Somebody saying, hi, I might be able to watch the whole videos. I need to go out. Will this be on replay? Yeah, it'll all be recorded in Greater Manchester, the place of my birth. I am a Mancunian. Facebook user, tell me what your name is, because he just says your name. And hey, Susan, from Hereford, not late this week. Yes, we do take a register every single week. And Joanne, without fail, from Quebec, really early in the morning. Great to see you. Okay, let's start mouth ulcers and cold sores. So let's get into this. So, I've got to say, hey, Linda. I've seen Linda's on the chat from California. Great to see you, Linda. Great to see you. So I've got to, that must be really early in California, but I know Linda, who did one of our courses. Okay, so let's get into this. I'm going to go backwards. Mouth ulcers and cold sores, the top homeopathic remedies for this. So what are mouth ulcers? Well, mouth ulcers are common. As we said, often people have had mouth ulcers, and normally they clear up within a week or two. Okay, very painful if you have them. I used to suffer from mouth ulcers, and if you've had a mouth ulcer that's lasted more than 3 weeks, go and see a healthcare professional, GP or dentist, just to check it out. Mouth ulcers are rarely a sign of something serious, but you may be uncomfortable to live with. And when you have mouth ulcers, and over you feel grumpy, you feel irritable, the slightest little knock, and it's painful. So it's not really a great state to be in. And they need time to heal, and there's no quick fix for them. But you do find with homeopathy, it will help, and it helps the healing process. And as you know, avoid anything that irritates your mouth ulcer, such as like spicy food, or sometimes hot drinks or cold drinks can aggravate. But we'll see some of the remedies actually are better or worse for that. Some of the causes of mouth ulcers: biting the inside of your cheek. How many of us have ever done that? Oh! You're chewing your food and you bite the inside of your cheek, really painful, then it can go into an ulcer. Badly fitting dentures or braces or rough fillings, or a sharp tooth, if the tooth's broken off, or you've been to the dentist, that can often cause a mouth ulcer. Cuts or burns while eating or drinking, hard food, hot drinks. Again, I'm sure we've all done that. Possible reasons for the mouth ulcer can also be a food intolerance or an allergy to something, and people can come out in mouth ulcers. Damaging your gums, it can be hit in the mouth, or like I said, toothbrush, you're brushing your teeth too vigorously, and it can cause a mouth ulcer. Or feeling stressed and tired and anxious. And again, we'll look at some of those remedies, which will cover that. But also can be triggered by hormonal changes, such as pregnancy, but also around your period, around menopause. It can happen, or after birth. Your genes, things that we've inherited. I come from a family where they have mouth ulcers, and so you can get them more often, or some kind of vitamin deficiency, sort of B12, or some kind of iron deficiency. So this is all from what the NHS and the NHS website talk about. So if you guys haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Click on the subscription. We've got just under 1,000 people now subscribed. So it'd be great to get up to the 1,000 if we can do it this week. Please share it. Share it with your friends and your family. So the more that people know about homeopathy, the more they can use it in their lives. So let's look at some of the homeopathic remedies for mouth ulcers. First remedy, arsenicum album. Now, if you've watched any of the other videos in the series of what we've been doing with these lives, we talk about arsenicum a lot. Now, remember, with these remedies, they've got these keynotes, and the keynotes for arsenicum is burning. Okay, so they have mouth ulcers with dryness of the mouth and burning heat. They can feel like the mouth's on fire sometimes, or the ulcer can feel like it's on fire. They have a bitter taste in the mouth after eating and drinking. There's this, I can't get rid of this taste. They're trying to get rid of this taste in the mouth, like a bitter taste. And they can also, with the mouth ulcer, and I've seen this a few times, people get a burning tongue. Tongue feels like it's on fire. Okay, it feels like it's on fire. And they can have swollen, bleeding gums as well alongside it. But the ulcer pain is better with hot drinks. This is like a strange, rare, peculiar thing with arsenicum. They're better for heat. So that they have this burning pain, which is better for hot drinks. It gets relieved by it. Now, you think that would be the opposite. It would be cold. No, it's hot drinks. Then you know you've got an arsenicum. So they can be worse for cold drinks, worse for food, cold food, worse for cold ices like ice cream or an ice lolly or anything ice. This is worse by. And as we know with arsenicum, it can be worse around midnight. And that can be between 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. Okay, so just don't think it's going to be on the 12 o'clock, the clock strikes 12 and all the symptoms appear. It can be leading up to midnight and a couple of hours after midnight as well. And with arsenicum, there's an affinity to the right side. So they can have a right-sided ulcers. So sometimes you're asking right, left, it can be both sides. They all point to different remedies. Often with arsenicum, it can be on the right side. But if it's on the left, and it says how all these modalities and sensations and burning, it still could be arsenicum, okay? Just don't do it on that one characteristic alone. So they can be often with arsenicum, as you know, they can be anxious, full of worries, and that can be everything from fear of being ill, getting ill. That this could be something more. Oh my goodness, what it is? And they're on Google trying to find out it could be. Oh my God, I've got this disease. This is arsenicum. They just go into this whole spin of what it can be, despair of recovery, that they've actually got something worse. It's incurable. It means it's a whole disease. It could be just they brushing their teeth and they did it too vigorously and they damaged the cheek or on the gum and it turned into an ulcer. So, but with arsenicum, it's very difficult to reassure arsenicums when they're anxious. But also it can be to do with financial problems or issues, or like a lot of people in the facing of the world at the moment, that there is financial worry. The fear. The big thing with arsenicum, it has fear of poverty. So the financial stress, when they're worrying about that, they're anxious and they're worried, then they can have that alongside these mouth ulcers. And with arsenicum, there's exhaustion from this. Okay, they feel exhausted and they also feel restless. So like they'll be tired, but they'll be walking around. They can't find any relief. And that points to the arsenicum picture. Okay. So remember, you don't need all of this. You just need like three major, we call the three-legged stool, as you've heard me say, or the keynotes. If you played a song, you play three keynotes, you'd recognize that song. Next remedy, Merc Sol. So this is a very common remedy, often used for mouth ulcers. And here the ulcers are very painful, but often stinging pain with Merc Sol. And they can have a characteristic symptom is that they can have a metallic taste in their mouth and profuse saliva. So the metallic taste tastes like metal in the mouth, but they have profuse saliva. It's like drooling out of the mouth, or in their pillow at night, it's drooling. The mouth is full of saliva. So those two keynotes are huge for mercury. Okay, for Merc Sol, huge. They also have a foul-smelling breath, and it really feels foul, as though something's like putrid and died. With great thirst for cold drinks. Okay, great thirst for, they want cold drinks. Now remember with arsenicum, it's more warm drinks. And ulcers that are often on the gums or on the tongue. You know, that's Merc Sol. Ulcers on the gums and the tongue. But also with Merc Sol, they can feel like the glands are up here as well. It feels a bit like the glands are raised. It can feel a bit like they've got a bit of a sore throat along with the mouth ulcer. Points towards Merc Sol. And often the pain is so painful. This lady here, it's so painful they can't even speak because it's so painful. Okay, they can't speak because of the pain. And the worse for touch, worse for eating food. Again, worse at night. So 2 remedies there that are worse at night. Okay, so that's Merc Sol. Again, look at the keynotes of the remedy. And the next remedy is nitric acid, NITAC, as a homeopathic remedy. So you can see this face. The nitric acid, people who are nitric acid, need nitric acid ulcers, extremely irritable, can be very sort of angry as well. So they have sharp splinter-like pains from the ulcers, normally on the soft palate. That's where normally a NITAC ulcer will go. They can bleed as well, and they can have pimples on the side of the tongue. But again, a foul, putrid breath. Another keynote of NITAC. Again, excessive saliva in the mouth that can, but with NITAC, it sort of burns the corners of the mouth here. It's like the saliva is very acidic, and they can describe it like that. It's like it's burning the corners of my mouth. So again, we're seeing some similarities to Merc Sol here, but that ascoric, that sort of acidic feeling is much more NITAC. Can be extremely angry, extremely irritable. Okay, much more than those other 2 remedies we talked about. They can have this can be loss of sleep, whether it be nursing the sick or the loved ones, being up all night, and this is like going on for days, weeks, months, and then getting worn down by it, the lack of sleep. Remember, sleep is absolutely key to our health and well-being. We need to be able to sleep. It's absolutely key to health and vitality. Check out my insomnia video if you want to know more about how homeopathy can help with that. But you've got to get your sleep on track. Number one thing. Anybody who've ever suffered from issues with insomnia or I'm talking about nursing the sick or just having kids, you know what lack of sleep can do. You know what that feeling is. It is the worst feeling. It's like within 3 days, you'll be like, just on a whole nother planet with lack of sleep. You've got to get good sleep. It's important. So often they've been worn down by that. Like I said, nursing the sick or nursing the loved one, or could be being a carer for a loved one, or even your job where that's, you're on night shifts all the time. Also for acrimonious situations, like this could be a divorce, this could be a lawsuit, it could be a row with the neighbors. It's something that's going on and on and on and on. Now, they become bitter with that. Again, it's quite acidic, as I said, this remedy. Become very bitter emotionally, and they can be quite revengeful. But in a way, if you think about mouth ulcers, if you look at the mind-body connection, it's alterated. It's sort of, what aren't you saying or what are you dwelling on? You look at that connection. It's really important. What's going on emotionally for us the symptoms can be an external manifestation of that internal state. So we've got to be very, very aware of how we're feeling and how we're seeing the world, because it can also manifest physically as well. Side effects of medications, that can also be, people get mouth ulcers, as I mentioned before. So again, NITAC is great for that, particularly with things like antibiotics. Or people with mercury fillings, if they have mercury fillings and they have mouth ulcers since, then NITAC is a great remedy for that. But this is very similar to Merc Sol. So if Merc Sol doesn't work, look at NITAC as the next remedy for that. Okay, so there were the top 3 remedies I wanted to share. There's other remedies for it, but I just want to give you the top 3 I think you should know about. The other thing you can try as well is Hypercal, which is Hypericum calendula. Do it as a mouthwash. And this is made from a natural, herbal preparation of calendula, which is marigold, combined with Hypericum, St. John's wort. And you can purchase this from health food stores or from pharmacies. And you take a few drops and just follow the directions on the bottle, but normally put a few drops of the tincture in a glass of cool previously boiled water, and then you can use it as a mouthwash. Swirl it around for say a minute, and then get rid of it. And do that twice a day. Can be so healing and get rid of a lot of the pain, because it's got the hypericum side as well as the healing with the calendula. And it promotes rapid healing, and plus it's an antiseptic as well, as we said, as well as being pain relieving. So again, the slides, you'll get the slides. The slides should be up on the session. So just download all those instructions. Let's look at cold sores. Now again, not everybody has cold sores, but when you do have them, I mean, I personally never had a cold sore. But my daughter's just had one the other day, so it was good I was doing this live session, so I can go through it. But what are cold sores? So they're quite common, but they usually, again, clear up within 10 days. But there's things that you can do to ease the pain. Check if it's a cold sore, because it normally starts with a tingling, an itching, or a burning feeling. And then over the next 48 hours, they should start to heal, but are contagious and irritating as well. So you've got to be careful. With other people, because they can be quite contagious, and it can be quite painful when they're healing. Some people find things trigger a cold sore, such as an illness, the sunshine, the seashore. I've seen it with people, as well as their menstrual periods around the hormonal time. So again, we've got to look at the hormone, and that can not just be around your period. It can be, I mentioned pregnancy as well as childbirth, and around the hormonal changes, even the menopause. Again, they are contagious, so from the first moment you feel the tingling or other signs of a cold sore, or when it's coming on, then the cold sore is completely healed. So let's look at the first remedy, Natrum Mure. So Nat Mure, big remedy, okay? Big remedy for cold sores. I'd say it's probably the number one often you think of. And this is cold sores around the mouth, around the lips, with a dryness, and there's often cracking of the lips. Okay, so the lips are very dry and cracking. That's a general feeling with Nat Mure. There's lack of water. There's a dryness, but it can ooze fluid, and often when you ooze the fluid that it oozes, it will be clear. Okay, it's a clear fluid with Natrum Mure. But again, the corners of the mouth can be dry and cracked as well, and tingling in the lips. Now, it hasn't got that. It's not sort of cracks which are painful from the saliva, like nitric acid we talked about before. This is just the lips are so dry. They can even have a crack in the middle here. They can have a crack on the middle of the bottom lip. But they have the tingling in the lips as well. Now, with Natrum Mure can often appear after some kind of emotional upset, a grief, a loss, or a disappointment. So if you've had one of those and all of a sudden the cold sore appears, this is why. Okay, this is often the cause behind it. So again, this is an external manifestation of our internal state. So it can be worse. This is for people that don't like to express themselves. So a Nat Mure person tends to keep everything in. It's like they don't like to express how they feel. They keep it in, and they internalize their emotions, and they keep it in. It will come out, as I said, it will manifest itself if we don't express it. Worse at the seashore. This is for people that get cold sores at the seashore, at the beach. They get them from sunlight or the heat of the sun. This is Natrum Mure. And as I mentioned, worse for suppressing their emotions. It's got to come out. Those emotions have got to come out. We've got to express them. If we don't, then it will come out often as symptoms. Why? Because the body's telling us there's a problem here. I always use that analogy of the car dashboard. Oil light flashes, it means there's something wrong in the engine. If we just suppress the symptoms, just take the bulb out, there's still a problem in the engine, and the car's going to break down 2 or 3 miles down the road. So what we want to do is get to the cause, and Nat Mure will help with that. If there is a grief, again, I did a video on grief. Check out the top remedies I did for grief. Natrum Mure's up there as one of the number one remedies for grief, especially where people hold on to grief and can be quite resentful. So again, you could maybe upset somebody who needs this remedy, and they won't react. And they'll be very stoic, but they feel it. But they won't express it, and then they'll get a cold sore, which is an expression of it. Can desire salt, big keynote for Natrum Mure. Or salty food, and often thirsty for large quantities of water. They need to drink. There's a whole thing around fluid and water with Natrum Mure. Very, very dry, but they're thirsty for large quantities of water. Next big remedy for cold sores is cold sores which are yellow and blistering. Okay, so they come up and they're all blistered and they're all yellow around the mouth, around the lips. And they get like a neuralgia, like that shingle-like pain as well, and itching, some intense itching and burning with the cold sore. Again, this is a keynote of rust tox. They're worse and sensitive to cold air. They'll say that really aggravates it, the cold sore. And generally, they're aggravated with it. They're also worse for damp weather or worse for being chilled. So if they're being warm and they suddenly get chilled, it can bring it on. Better for warm, dry environment. It can really help the cold sore and help them generally. And they will be quite restless as well. That's the keynote for rust tox. They'll be quite restless. And it's more of a physical restlessness rather than arsenicum, which we mentioned before about with mouth ulcers. But this is much more physical. They need to move. Right? Arsenicum, what's driving them to move is their anxiety. It's the mental rather than that physical. So rust tox likes to keep moving and feels better for that and feels better for motion. Another big remedy there for cold sores. Last one, sepia. So I wanted to include this because often this is not often thought about as a remedy for cold sores, but I've used this a lot with people. And this is for people who have cold sores around the lips, mouth, and the nose, but is exhausted. They're exhausted. And this is a remedy as affinity to the female hormonal system. And with the sepia is indicated when it comes again around the menstrual period, before, during pregnancy, after childbirth, or around the menopause. We talked about this earlier on, that this can be a trigger. Sepia is your remedy in that situation. They have no energy, they're very irritable, and want to be left alone. They're just they're just exhausted. They're exhausted. So it could be, with the kids or, exhausted ever since childbirth, but they're just exhausted. They just want to be left alone. But they're better if they exercise. So they feel better for moving and exercising. Just moving around, it gets the whole system going and it can rejuvenate them. So they'll say, I insist about going to their exercise class or going to the gym because that's when they feel the best, because they're moving. Also better for hot application, especially on the cold sores. Okay, it can feel better if there's some kind of warm application. Worse on the left side with the cold sores. Worse during pregnancy. We said this childbirth, around the period, or around the menopause. Anything around the hormonal system. So if you yourself or somebody you know always gets cold sores around the period, or after childbirth, or after anything hormonal, think of sepia. Great remedy. And homeopathic prescribing, as I always say, use the 6C, 30C of the homeopathic remedy we've talked about. You get these over the counter at health food stores or from homeopathic pharmacies, and they're often in homeopathic remedy kits. And if you've got a cold sore, I would probably do 3 or 4 doses of that. So just do 3 or 4, and you'll see the shift. Remember, keys to a lock. You give the indicated remedy, it will start to move it. Just see how you feel when you take it. But just do it for 3 or 4 doses or until the symptoms improve. Again, I repeat this. It's so important. Look for the keynotes of the remedy. Now, I've given you 3 remedies for mouth ulcers, 3 remedies for cold sores. So what you need to do is just look at those 3 for each of those and say, does it fit? And if you're just down to 2, then just give 1 of them. And then you know where to go to next. But those remedies I've talked about will cover most of those conditions. But if the symptoms persist, seek a qualified practitioner. There may be something historic that's gone on for you. You might have these for many, many years. There may be something else that is triggering it. That's often when we need to go and see a qualified practitioner. Okay, but for the purpose of this video, and what we're talking about today is really about things you can do in the home to go to first without necessarily having allopathic medication. So that's pretty much it. So thank you, everybody, for that. I hope you enjoyed it and hope you will use these. Again, I talk about these remedies. Please use these remedies. They can be so effective. And if you look at all the other videos that are on the YouTube channel, you see all the different things that we cover. And again, just use it. We're getting some lovely emails, some lovely feedback. I really appreciate it. I'm glad it's so useful for people. And yeah, great. But please prescribe as much as you can when the opportunity arises. And that's how you learn homeopathy.